Peace, family. Welcome to another episode Underground Railroad Radio. This is your host, Brother Rich, and I'm back with the brother Black Dot. What's happening, brother?
Peace to the family out there. Peace to Brother Rich, Underground Radio. You already know how I feel about the work you're doing, and I'm honored to give my 2 cents on whatever it is we're going in on.
Man, I got so many emails after that last interview I did with you. People kept asking me, when you going to have Dot back on there, man? So I was like, I got to holler at Dot, man.
Okay.
They want.
We got to give the people what they want, you know. It's always good.
A lot of brothers keep asking about this new book too, man. You got to feed us, man. You got to feed us.
Brother, I'm working as hard as I can possibly work to get this out, but I already know this one is because I'm taking time a little bit more. I'm a little bit more methodic in how I put this one together as opposed to Hip Hop Decoded, which was just a series of conversations I was having with the young brothers in the hood, and it led to a book that and it filled a void that wasn't being talked about in hip hop. Now we have many different. It's multi-dimensional in how we approach hip hop. You got brothers, A.A. Rashid taking it from a Kabbalistic standpoint. You got Ampu and Minister Jew, who I haven't met, but I've been peeping his work, who have opened up vortexes for hip-hop astrology. So it all boils back to Hip-Hop Decoded, not tooting my own horn, but we didn't have something in concrete form that we could refer to show the multitude of how vast hip-hop is and how far it has become. So I'm working hard on Urban Culture Decoded, and this is going to be for those who, just on the streets every day, why we are who we are, and hopefully the people will appreciate it. So I'm working real hard.
And brother, I remember I was probably about 20, 24, 23 years old, and when you came out with Hip Hop Decoded, man, I was like, wow, I've never seen nothing like it. Like, people don't know how fortunate they are because of the internet. It's such a overload of information that, you get spoiled. But back then, in 2004, 2005,
yes,
when you came out with that shit was gold, Doc.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Like you said, we didn't have nothing like it. So I want to get into the show, Doc. I want to touch bases. You deal with the hip-hop culture, you deal with pop culture, you deal with all that. You're able to communicate with the youth. So I definitely want to touch bases with you on some current events happening in mainstream culture and tied to some historical events. We got this thing that was on the internet a lot last week with Kim Kardashian, Kanye West's wife. She posed for I believe it was Paper magazine, and it was a real controversial photo shoot. She was basically nude on her photo shoot, and it was a recreation from a photographer did, Jean-Paul Gould, I think his name is. He did a nude black model. That was part of a 1982 book called Jungle Fever. When this photo emerged on the internet, people who have some type of knowledge of history automatically reference the Sarah Baartman.
Yes.
And people kind of looked at it as, why is Kim participating in this? It kind of gives me flashback of this whole Sarah Baartman thing, whatever. The dude, the photographer, he was known to have like a fascination with what he called black girls. He told People magazine that in 1979. He said he had jungle fever. He had like a violent, what they call violent relationship with Grace Jones. And I believe even one time he had her posing in a cage next to a piece of meat or something like that. But, he said, regardless, he said he was fascinated with a black woman. That's why he did the spread. But before we get into that, I want you to use this opportunity to tell the people a little something about who exactly Sarah Baartman is and why somebody will make an historical reference to a Kim Kardashian photo shoot.
All right, well, this conversation will probably, as you know, I'm going to be ping-ponging all over the place because I don't generally prepare, just as a side note, my answers. You know what I mean? I usually just let the questions flow and allow the spirit to take me where it goes. So for those who can benefit off of it, I'm going to try my best. Now, Sarah Baartman, as we know, or for those who don't know, was a South African woman from, I forget the name of the tribe that she was from. And when these Europeans, as they do, ventured over to different places of the world, they was fascinated by her physical appearance. Now, her physical appearance, if I wanted to put it in today's context, is a video vixen, so to speak. Not to compare her to a video vixen, but just to say, she was very voluptuous, big breasts, the regular woman walking down the street, regular black women we see all day. And when they were used to seeing European women who was flat up and down, you know what I'm saying? So when they saw Sarah Baartman, they were very fascinated by her physical appearance, and through some kind of probably manipulation, got her to leave her hometown in hindsight, thinking she was coming to London and all of these places for riches or an opportunity to get famous. She wound up being exploited because they created a whole exhibit just so white people can come stare at her ass, in a nutshell. You know what I'm saying? So they also, at some point, she was taken to Paris and also became a part of a circus in which she was with midgets and gigantic people. See, back then the circus was just, freak things. Motherfuckers with one eye on his forehead or two heads and shit. You know what I'm saying? So they coupled her with that because they're, this blatant racism for the black woman at that point anyway. They didn't even consider her a woman. They considered her like a monkey, a gorilla of some sort, or some hybrid. So she was exploited to the point where all they did was, they were fascinated, but yet they were very fascinated at the same time. When all the smoke cleared and she was no longer useful, or times had changed, or spotlight was being shed on the wrong that these people were doing, she was cast out. Some say she got into prostitution. Others say that's not true. But we do know she passed away. But when she passed away, they didn't just give her an honorable burial or bury her. They chopped her up to pieces and put her vagina in a jar and certain body parts, as gross as it may sound, into jars, and put that on display. And they also made a cast of her body while she was alive and put that on display as well. So these people were coming even in her death and looking at her as if she was some kind of a dinosaur or something, or some kind of relic. And it wasn't until years later before, through political pressure, that they was able to finally, get her stuff, her genitals and other body parts off display. And, I think Nelson Mandela or somebody was finally able to get her home. And people have written books about her, the Hottentot Venus. As we know, Venus is representative of love, and Hottentot, I'm not too sure what that term comes from. But to make a long story short, some say she was the very first video vixen before, videos came out. But this is not uncommon for us in this day and time to see voluptuous women that we adorn and adore. So I'm not surprised that this particular photographer is fascinated with the beauty of a black woman, because so am I. And I can't blame him, other than him painting these pictures. And pictures are very, very important because they go to the subconscious mind even more than the verbal that we, come across with. So these images stick in people's heads. So when he decided to recreate the black girl with the champagne glass and this and that, and to redo it, I found that very fascinating, that people caught on very quick and made the correlation and connection to Sarah Baartman, and things of that nature. So, this is where we're at in this day and time.
Why do you think, what's up with, and this is something I've heard a lot of, quote unquote black people talk about a lot throughout the years. And there was an article, I mentioned this because I don't know if you put it on Facebook, but I seen an article that said white people literally think blacks are more likely to have supernatural abilities and magical powers. And my question to you is, why does it appear that white people are so fascinated with black people? Like, what the hell is why are they so, like, if you notice, if you go on a train, it's like the darker you are, the more they'll just stare. Like, I'm high yellow. They don't stare too much at me. I go on the train, I'm with my girl, she's of a darker hue, and white women will just stare, especially the European tourists. They will just stare to the point where it's disrespectful. But they don't want to fight or nothing like that. You know how to fight for a stare where a person who has Adam and they want to fight or stare out of just curiosity. It's just a curious stare, but it's disrespectful because it's so blatant. And
for me.
And one more thing, and they come into the neighborhoods, and black people, they even made fun of this in movie theaters. They're on the tour buses, and they're just fascinated, taking pictures, and what's up with the fascination, Doc?
Well, in my humble opinion, I want to take you to the way a child would stare at its mother or stare at its father. You know what I mean? They know deep down inside who they're staring at. When my little daughter, when she was 2 and she would stare into my eyes, or my son, it was a stare of adoration, a stare of fascination, a stare of looking at your creator in the face. Now, contrary to what popular belief is, outside of the United States, the history of the black man and woman is talked about more openly in its more original manner, meaning they don't sugarcoat. They still got statues of black people up all over, outside the United States. So they have a different kind of adoration for us than this European in America, so to speak. And so when they come here, a lot of them are, coming here now, and they can't understand how we're being betrayed here. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to twist this up with white supremacy, which is worldwide. We understand that fully. But the way in certain cultures that is talked about who we are, they understand. So their fascination with that melanin, especially like you said, a dark brother. I go to certain places, and it seems like the whole damn crowd is following me. You know what I mean? And staring and stuff of that nature. So to me, I just equate it with the fascination of them staring at their origins and being able to be so close to your creator in this day and time. And, we're so complex in who we are. Side note, they also know that we can be used as talisman and taliswomen in the sense that you can come anywhere and find a black person and get fucking rich. Let's be clear. You see a nigga dunking the ball, the environment may not be right, but if you take him out of the hood and create an environment where he gets 3 meals a day, you tutor him in reading and writing and all that shit that don't mean nothing to spiritual people like us. And if you set the environment up, he'll go to college and make you a whole bunch of money, especially in any field. Anything that we do or touch, they understand it's going to magnify and turn into riches. So they create talisman out of us without us even knowing. You know what I mean? So they can find a rapper on any corner and make him whoever they want him to be if they just get him focused. Any ball player, any rapper, any football player, because all of that's based on racism and white supremacy anyway. Look who's the head of all of them leagues. Is some white Jewish man, silver man, who's the commissioner and this and that, and now they doling out punishment because the slaves are running amok and trying to create a system of their own or get off the plantation or get a bigger piece of the plantational pie. So it's a lot going on across the board culturally in this country that, I want to ping pong off and talk about today with Sarah Baartman being the basis of our conversation.
Now, that we complain a lot about the, since we're dealing with this image the sexual image of Kim Kardashian, and as well as the sexual exploitation of Sarah Baartman. We complain a lot about the hypersexualization of black women in this society, as well as the image of the black man in this society, as far as, how he dresses with, his pants below his ass, or, however he chooses to, wear his clothes, the baggy clothing, or, whatever he chooses to do. But even when sisters aren't trying to be sexual, society still views them as being over-sexual. Even when brothers were wearing suits, they were getting lynched. Now, they would have you to believe, well, the reason blacks are treated is look at how they dress. They have no respect for themselves. Look at the images you guys portray. Look at your woman. That's why they're treated like a piece of meat. Look at your women. Look what they're wearing. But no, Doc. Even before all of that, before the Nicki Minaj's, and we want to blame them for why people view black women as over-sexualization and the Rihanna's, but even before that, Doc, they was viewed as being over-sexual. During slavery, they was viewed, the white woman looked at them as being over-sexual. During slavery, the black man was looked at as being over-sexual. I just did an interview with Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said when George Washington Carver, the white people that adopted him castrated him because they didn't want him to have sex with their daughter.
Yeah, that was deep. Yeah, that was very deep.
Yeah. I'm going to post that interview tomorrow or the next day for anybody who's listening. But even so, we try to use these things in modern society as an excuse, but are we missing something? Is there a bigger problem that we're not addressing here, Black Dot?
Well, for me, and again, I can only give my humble opinion on it, no amount of clothes could ever cover up the sexual energy of a black woman or black man for that matter. So, and sexual energy in its truest essence, we understand. That's a whole lecture in itself. It's the reason we're here. Let's be clear.
Right.
Shit, So, back to Sarah Baartman, she looked like that, but she didn't have to hit the gym or get ass shots or none of that. It was her natural essence. Dr. Phil Valentine even said, even our men, when you see them standing there muscular, that wasn't from working out. They just was. You know what I mean? From hunting and doing the things naturally. So our sexuality runs deeper than a physical appearance. Come on, when a woman is sexually attracted to you, she may have just met you, but you're emanating, or she's emanating off a sexual energy that you could devour. You know what I mean? And you have to refrain, especially if you have a significant other, because if everybody just acted on their impulses, man, it would be Freak Fresh 2014 out here. You know what I mean? So no amount of clothes is ever gonna cover up our sexuality or our energy. And this is why Phil Valentine also said, I believe it was him or Master Bobby Hemmett said, they never had two black people in the movie in love because that's too much black energy on the screen being emanated. You know what I'm saying? So they always try to isolate the black man and the black woman on the screen, especially not put them in love scenes, because the energy is too strong for a lot of these Europeans who are devoid of this type of energy to even handle. So every black man in the secret societies has to make love to a black woman. He has to, because that's a part of his rites of passage, just like he had to sleep with his mother, and that's where we get the term motherfucker from, when he turned 18. It was a part of their caveman ritual shit. And in this day and time, you have to conquer the black woman to even say that you loved in the first place, because prior to that, what you're doing with your European woman ain't love. You know what I mean? That's a simulation of what love would be if love existed between, them cave people. So, to answer your question, I don't have a direct answer as to why they get crazy, whether we have our clothes on or we take our clothes off, but they are using the image in this day and time to justify their actions against us by saying, look at them. They don't have any clothes on. Why should we respect them when we didn't wear clothes? not to that degree. If we going back, before we got here and became Romanized and so forth. So in this day and time, if you're not acting Roman, then you are not civilized. And we know that in a lot of cases, it's just the opposite. So we got to be very careful on how we go in on Nicki Minaj and them. Don't get me wrong, I'm Black Dot. I go in, I'm guilty of it. But as I get older and my understanding grows of what's taking place, it's a thin line between us expressing our distaste for the way our Black woman is being displayed because it's not being balanced with all that the Black woman possesses, her intelligence, her ingenuity, her power. It's just her sexual power or sexual, energy that's being on display, which is putting it out of balance, and it doesn't present the complete picture of the Black woman, universally speaking. So that's where I have a problem with. Don't get me wrong. The media in this day and time has put ass everywhere, and it's causing confusion. Listen, side note, before you even ask the next question. I'll see a clip that says, shorty get ready to twerk. And I'll say to myself, this is for the fellas out there, ladies, no disrespect. I'll say, now why should I even click on this? How many times have I seen a woman twerk and you know what? I'll click on it anyway and be fascinated. The Black woman is fucking fascinating. And be fascinated like, God damn, look how she's twerking as opposed to the other 10 videos I just watched. Just keep it at 1,000. You want some Black Dot shit? This is 1,000. But it's because of our fascination with the Black woman. You could never see enough Black asses, you know what I mean, and still not be fascinated with it because she is the utmost, the queen. I am literally fascinated, but not just at asses, ladies. I'm fascinated walking down 125th Street at the different complexions, hues, hairstyles, builds, walks about our people. So I am generally fascinated with that whole process, but because the ass is on display everywhere, you can't resist but to look at it.
Since we're talking about the over-sexualization in our society, we live in an internet world. Everything is in the internet. This radio show is going to be on the internet. 106 & Park just got pulled from BET. It's going to just be on the internet now. So, everything is on the internet. One of the most visited sites on the internet is porn. Now, what do you think? Do you think porn? Now we're talking about sexual energy, something is natural, the natural creative force of the universe. Nothing can come into existence without sexual energy. Nothing. Not Pan, you can't manifest absolutely anything. It takes the masculine and the feminine principle, thought and the feeling, and it produces something. Do you think porn has a negative impact on the psyche? Because some people will say, it's a natural act. It's Mother Nature. What type, if it does have a negative impact, what type of impact do you think it has, negative or positive, on the psyche?
All right, that's a deep question. I'm going to start out by saying this. I have never seen a porn where two people were making love. I'm going to say that again. I have never seen a porn that was done so tastefully with two people who loved each other, who they weren't just banging out with some wild story that is a goddamn fantasy. I'm talking about making love. That's what's missing from porn. Love. Wow. It's just a wild out, So, and it's void of love. So when you look at it, so if you wanted, you couldn't sit your son down and say, son, I want to teach you in this day and time about the birds and the bees, but I don't just have to talk about it. I can sit you down and give you some visuals. You can't do that and show him porn, because he'll go and wild out on women with no, understanding of the process of love making and so forth and so on. So in my humble opinion, I know you get people out there who want to wild out on me. Porn is missing love making. It's just an act a physical act without the spiritual and mental connection to it. And that's why it's looked upon in such a bad light as it is in this particular day and time. Now, porn also increases the masturbation rate in this country 1,000-fold because it's fantasy mixed with reality. So you're in the fantasy world watching something, but it has physical ramifications on you if you then act out a physical real act and let your energy go. Now, when you let your energy go through your sperm, you are giving birth each and every time you do so. This is how the masters taught me about this, the elders. So even if you don't give a physical birth, you're giving birth to something on the astral realm and higher realms that, just like you give a birth to a physical baby, that baby needs to be fed, that baby needs to be nurtured, that baby needs to be cared for. So all of them astral babies that motherfuckers is letting loose on, even in the clubs doing the wild thing with the condoms on, right? That's not making a connection to its target. You got a whole bunch of entities and babies on a whole nother plane that is following your ass around like a dark cloud. This is why your ass can't get nothing done. You know what I mean? So the porn industry is used for those who know how to enter into the astral realm and take all of that energy that's readily available like a damn Energizer bunny and use it to their benefit without you even knowing and understanding that you're participating in some devious shit that's making them stronger than you. So porn has its place for those who are looking for an unwanted energy source. Like it's like a damn gold mine up there if you can access the astral realm, because all they do is let that porn go, and now see you got the porn. It's so readily available that it's generating a lot of energy is what I'm trying to say. And if you're not generating the energy for your own use, so if you're not masturbating and at the time of ejaculation you are placing that energy on a target, whether physical or astral, then somebody else is. So whoever don't like that answer, whatever.
I appreciate that answer, brother. When asked about the term nigga, and we're still talking about sex here, but let me just use this as a beginning statement. When asked about the term nigga, Jay-Z said people give words power. And he's not concerned about, the historical context of the word nigga. Does analyzing something like what we're talking about with Kim Kardashian, because it brings up a lot of when we analyze it historically, it brings up a lot of emotions, when you're describing how they stuffed her body after she died and, just everything. People could rewind it if they didn't hear that part. Does analyzing something like that give power to the same thing that we detest? Should we instead redefine things in the present society so we could create history instead of reliving it over and over and over again, Black Dot?
That's a great question. And the chapter in my book that I'm writing now is called Analog versus Digital. And I don't mean that in the literal sense. I mean it in the figurative sense of this digital society that we live in. And the children who were born on the digital timeline have the ability to adapt, adjust, and transmute time and space the way we can't because we were born in an analog world, so to speak. All right? So history to them don't mean shit. So they're not attached to it. The information age moves so fast that when I get my cell phone, the shit is obsolete in 2 weeks. You see what I'm saying? This is how fast technologically we're moving. And those who are born on the technological timeline or the digital timeline, it's already encoded within their DNA to move at a different pace than we are. So a lot of us, I'm 47, 46 years old, a lot of us are stuck on, not necessarily in a negative sense, reading history and what Dr. King did and what the elders did so we could be here, and I get it. But it keeps us stuck to a certain degree and unable to transmute and be mutable and adjust to this particular day and time. This generation of youth, no offense, don't give a shit about Dr. King or any of that stuff because it has no relevance, in their humble opinion, on their life in this day and time, which is moving so fast that they're using information that's readily available and relevant to them in this day and time. So parents, you're going to have to make adjustments, because this is why the digital divide between us and our children is not just about the handheld devices that they have and they're using. It's also about their consciousness. You know what I mean? Their ability to learn more information than we could ever process, their ability to find out and filter what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And this transcends over color lines too. You know what I mean? So they're not racially charged as we was, which is an analog way of thinking. They just dealing with energy and using the energy to their benefit any way they see fit. So we are dealing with a new breed of human. You know what I'm saying? Our youth, just listen to them. Listen to them. You know what I mean? So this is what we're up against, and we keep trying to force an analog reality up their asses, and they keep shitting it back out like that's not what it's about for us.
It seems as though we can learn from each other. They can learn of some history, and we can learn how to be more transmutable.
Yes. So not to, that's what urban culture is decoded when I feed it to the people and deliver it, is going to be about us understanding, instead of criticizing all the time what they're doing, us understanding what they're doing, us making a transmutation into what they're doing, but base it in who we are as a collective. You know what I mean? So when Jay-Z said words of power, to a certain degree, yeah, sure. Just like if we don't pay attention to the Kim Kardashian shit, it'll go away. If we don't pay attention to Bill Cosby, it'll go away. But we're charging it, right? We're giving it energy, and our emotional emittance, because we're emitting this, emoting, or you know what I'm saying, is charging it, and as a result of it being charged, now that energy can be used for whatever their real plan is anyway. I mean, come on, this shit been going on with Bill for years. Why now? Not to switch the subject, but we kind of ping-ponging around. So, this day and time affords them the ability to use it in a whole different way because of the digital world that we live in, as opposed to the analog world that we grew up in.
I see the direction of society is going in, and they people say we're going from the I guess the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So and I'm listening to you talk, and it's profound, brother. And it's it sounds like something as it appears to be as mundane as a Kim Kardashian and whatever title interview. It has been a very metaphysical interview. So I think this is the perfect time to segue and get your opinion on something else that just happened in the media, and I seen it from a post you put up on Facebook. Will Smith, Jaden Smith, children, I think the name is Willow and Jaden Smith.
Mm-hmm.
They was interviewed by a magazine, and it was profound to me. My personal opinion. It was pretty profound, some of the statements they made. I don't know exactly how old they are. I believe they're about around 14 years old. But I was very impressed with some of the answers they gave. Of course, mainstream media just wrote them off as, they're crazy and bugged out and bizarre. And, I know there's a lot of rumors about Will and Jada, him being this and her being that and swingers. And, but I'm not focusing on that right now. Right now, I'm focusing on what I heard these black children say, so-called black, whatever you want to call them, melanated. It was pretty profound. I was extremely impressed by what they said. And I want, I remember one of my introductions to Phil Valentine was going to, I believe it was the Chocolate Cafe in Brooklyn. You and Brother Shabazz, at the time you guys had Eye Opener Production. This is way before the internet era. This was VHS era.
Yes.
You had to have a VCR. I'm 20 years old. I'm trying to learn about metaphysics. I'm falling asleep while watching it because it's so damn confusing. But I want to thank you for bringing brothers like Phil to New York to speak. But fast forwarding a decade later, whatever, what is your opinion? Mainstream media all over the internet, from sneaking Phil into the Chocolate Cafe and nobody knowing about this stuff, to fast forwarding 10 years later to one of the most popular black actor and black actresses in the world, multi-millionaires, their children, give an interview that is on such a metaphysical level. What's your take on this, brother? Hearing this, fast forward, and knowing that 10 years ago you was helping young brothers like me. I'm 20, helping young brothers like me. Fast forward 10 years later, what's your opinion on this, Black Dot?
Well, this is how we plant the seeds. You know what I mean? So I don't worry about what you feel about me per se. I know when I came on the timeline of consciousness and the work that we were doing was for a future time. Phil used to say, I'm from another tomorrow, in reference to we putting, you know, I don't want to get into the spiel of time doesn't exist for all the super consciousness people out there and all that shit. I'm just saying from a linear perspective, we put the time in and planted the seeds so that future generations could benefit. Now, what they're doing, Will and Jada, or their children, first of all, Will said some profound stuff years ago. I don't care what you think about him personally. He said, listen, he sat on Barbara Walters' show and said, listen, I think a few people run this world. And this is right before he really blew. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And Barbara Walters just kind of looked at him like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't know what the hell he was talking about. So, and when I listened to Jada, she's always been a sister who seemed to be in tune with things and so forth. This is what I mean by their children were not raised in the same paradigm that we were. Their children are in the quickening. A part of that quickening is the ability to process bullshit from what is real and only rock what, you know what I'm saying, what's real and what's, you know, universally real. Now, analog, religion, all kind of religion, analog. Digital, the universal understanding of life, which breaks down to what Phil and Bobby and them was teaching years ago, metaphysics. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you call it metaphysics or whatever you call it, but it's using
age,
your,
some people
yes,
call it
new age. It's using your brain function to think and rationalize and filter out what you know is impossible or can't be true and connect with the universe as one. Now, this is a lifetime body of work. You know what I mean? This is a lifetime journey because you are still, as we like to say, you are spiritual having a human experience, so you're still dealing with human everyday shit. That's on the timeline. You know what I'm saying? You got to grow old on the timeline, learn this and that. But spiritually, you able to escape time and all of that and process information at rates that you couldn't possibly imagine. So these children were not indoctrinated from the beginning. They came in on the timeline understanding universal principles based on the way their parents taught them. Even some people might say some of the Scientology. I'm one that never throw the baby out with the bathwater. So some of that Scientology shit is real. You know what I mean? Because it's based, this shit is just based on fucking universal principles. They may add alien in there and shit to throw you off or something or, you know, some shit like that. But it's still, a lot of it is based on universal principles. So when we teach our children about universal principles from the beginning, we set them on a path where they can avoid and bypass all the bullshit that we had to grow up in. And I don't mean, when I say bullshit, I'm not throwing anybody's religion under the bus. I respect them all. But we had to go through a lot of, you know, craziness before we could realize. And Phil Valentine and Dr. York and Elijah Muhammad and Noble Drew Ali, these people have been splicing in on the timeline to allow us vortexes of quickening, so to speak, so that we can avoid, and then some of us lull back into nonsense, and then we also need to quantum leap from time to time just so we can stay above the rat race. So when we started bringing Phil and Bobby and Dr. Africa and Jewel Fulcrum and all of these people in, it was our way of trying to add a splice into the normal timeline of things so that for those who are ready to get into the quickening could get into the quickening, and as a result, we're seeing babies who are now birthed in the quickening.
I want to read a quote from something Jaden said real quick, and I'm going to ask a question. The interviewer asked, how have you gotten better? Jaden said, well, Willow said first, caring less what everyone else thinks, because also caring less and less about what your own mind thinks, because your own mind thinks sometimes is what is the thing that makes you sad. Jada said exactly, because your mind has a duality to it. So when one thought goes into your mind, it's just not one thought. It has to bounce off both hemispheres of your brain. When you're thinking about something happy, you're thinking about something sad. When you're thinking about an apple, you're also thinking about the opposite of apple. It's a tool for understanding mathematics and the things with separate realities, but from creativity that comes from a place of oneness. It's not a duality consciousness, and you can't listen to your mind in those times. Now, it makes me think about a lot of things that it just, it was like, how they say your life flashes before your eyes when you die. When I heard that statement, it just made me think about just a whole array of things that I've read, listened to from some of your lectures, Phil Valentine, just a lot of different lectures. One thing in particular one thing I've been talking about a lot lately, that's why I was so impressed with this, is quantum physics. And I know you've done lectures called, I think, Quantum Hip Hop. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. I asked this brother Ross Ben on an interview about a couple of months ago about astral projection. The brother Ross Ben said about leaving the body, astral traveling or whatever. The brother Ross Ben basically, the paraphrase, said he doesn't like the term astral projection because we're not really here in the first place. All this is a projection. We're already in heaven. We're already in that place that we imagine we want to be when we die. All this is a projection down here to experience ourselves in duality. So when he said that, I was like, oh man, that's some profound shit, bro, because I've been reading, I Am and just different books that deal with the oneness, how to experience the oneness of consciousness. And it seems as though where we're heading right now is the duality of consciousness is kind of, with some people, and when you study quantum physics and you view the world from a subjective experience. I was just talking to a brother named Minister Jew the other day, and we was talking about looking at the world from a subjective experience. We talk a lot of shit about the law of attraction and it being real, and everybody loves it when things are going great in their life.
Right.
When things go bad, they don't like that shit then. They're like, man, I ain't create that shit. I don't know what the fuck, fuck that shit. When things is going great, they're like, yes, man, I created this. Man, I attracted this mate to me. I attracted the mate to me. That's how I got the mate. Some bad shit happened. They're like, man, fuck this shit. So, Dot, can you touch a little bit, just give a brief synopsis about this, and I want to conclude with this. I was about, for those who may not follow metaphysics or, occult or new age or whatever term they're throwing out there for us, but because they're listening to us, because we were talking about Kim Kardashian or whoever, and they still might be listening, could you just give them a brief synopsis on why Will Jaden Smith will be talking about this? Why me and you talk about this so much? Why you boys still in 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever to talk about this? Why do you talk so much about the metaphysical realm, Black Dot?
Okay, so let me address the oneness first. And he mentioned it in terms of creativity. So this is why your creative ability is so crucial to those who understand quantum physics. Because when you begin to create, God has to create or God dies. The God within you has to create or you die. And create could be simple things like not walking to work the same way. Now, when I say that, I mean because everything that you do, when you become too familiar with that shit, you dying. You go to the same store, you get the same coffee, speak to the same people. Even in your relationship, you have to renew things because it's your natural ability to create. So I don't want, when I say create, for you to always think an inanimate object or some, but when we do music or when we do our art or we do our dances, that's creation in which we kind of escape time and space. And you can become the oneness because it's, you know what I mean? So that's what triggered when I was listening to the Jaden and Will, when he said that, I said, he's on to something here. You know what I mean? So we create the music, but those who sit on top of the industry, they have the ability to stop and bottleneck and filter out and stunt your growth by forcing you to move in a linear pattern when it comes to creating. So it's taken Jay Electronica years to get his album together. Why? Because his thought patterns, his geometrical thought patterns are different than the average MC. I'm not talking about his personal life. That's earthbound shit. I'm talking about when I hear him speak, I used to think the nigga had Tourette syndrome or something because his mind was moving too fast for his mouth to even process his thoughts. So he exists, but when he MC, he was opening up vortexes that put him on realms that dudes may not be ready to deal with. So his creative patterns are a little different than the average MC. So he's creating from a place, and that's what creation is. If every MC came out trying to sound like Jay-Z, it's really not a creation. So creation forces you to challenge boundaries. That's why I respect Kanye's art as much as I do, because he never puts out the same album twice. You see what I'm saying? When other dudes is just putting out the same album because they're trying to move their numbers, it's bigger than that to him. So he is a God on a higher realm. Not talking about earthbound shit, please, people. I don't want to start getting the emails about him and his wife. I get that. That's earthbound shit, and he has lessons to learn on that level, but it has nothing to do with when he becomes one with the universe, so to speak. All right? You are here to experience. So if you want to have a crispy chicken sandwich, have one. The problem is when you create patterns around having this crispy chicken sandwich again and again and again, there are universal consequences. This is basic stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just like if you create positive patterns, you will have positive results. By the way, the crispy chicken sandwich from Wendy's is crazy. Side note. Now, back to what I'm saying. Have one, experience it, but don't get caught into it where you become a slave to it and it becomes the master over you. So we speak in these terms, we call them metaphysics, which is dealing with the cause of things as opposed to just dealing with the effects on why my people are sick. Let's go upstairs and find out why we act the way we do. You know what I'm saying? On multiple levels, so that we can then begin deal with it from that level so that it may trickle down into your physical world and you can truly make change. So this is why we do the lectures. This is why we speak and have these opportunities so that we can at least try to wake something up that's already in you. Something I say tonight may wake something up in you where you begin to question, challenge, study, and see the view from the world from a subjective, Minister Jew, perspective, so that you don't take everything so goddamn personal, because everything is not personal. It's just a matter of how you view things.
Right. I want to give you this. I appreciate you coming on the show once again, Black Dot.
Appreciate you having me.
I want to give you this opportunity, Black Dot. Please tell the people how can they contact you if they want more information or just want to contact you, brother. Right
now, I'm off the grid except for Facebook. You can go through Brother Rich's page and connect with Dwayne Black Dot Bowser. Right now, I'm going to relaunch the website. When the book comes out, I'm going to reinvent myself again because we're talking about creation. I have to recreate Black Dot as you know Black Dot. You know what I mean? So that I can once again become oneness Because even in your so-called conscious circles, if you come into the same lectures talking to the same people, you're dying. It's as simple as that. So it's very important to try to recreate, and recreate don't necessarily mean in an upward position. It could mean a multiverse type of where you just start connecting with newer people. Side note, I want to say this before we get off the air. There are two things or two persons you need to be concerned with. The person you think you are and the person who you really are. And Bill Cosby is going through that now, who he thinks he is in reference to the perfect dad and this and that, and who he thinks he is. And who he really is. You know what I'm saying? Which is what he has to deal with on an earthly realm of his own demons. The average rapper has to go through that from the 90s when they were high up on a plateau, and now they're distilling back to the planet as regular people who have to function amongst the so-called common folk, and they have to really deal with who they are. So my goal is always to make sure when I speak to you, I'm telling you who I really am, not who you think or who I think I am per se. That's why some of the stuff is blatantly honest, and I learned that from the elders, to be blatantly honest and give it to you so that you don't project me out further than I need to be and then be disappointed when you find out that that's not who I am. So for each and every one of us, that's who you are and who you think you are. Try to focus on who you really are. Peace.
It's Brother Rich, Underground Railroad. Check out the website, www.undergroundrailroadnet.com, and we signing out.